this is Misty Springer, and welcome to another episode of Aligned Heart. I'm happy to be here with you today. We're talking about creating clarity, momentum, and why aligned action is the most powerful action that you can take. So I'm excited to share some thoughts and ideas with you today. So, have you ever had an idea or thought of a goal that you had for yourself, feel a desire in your heart, feel a desire to create something, even if that creation is just showing up for yourself differently? Maybe that creation is showing up in your business and creating new clients or raising your prices. Or maybe it is showing up for yourself in food in your body and listening intuitively to what your body needs versus feeling like you're reaching for a cookie and the cookie has more control over you than you have. Whatever it is that you're creating in the world, my listeners, if you're here, it's because you're up to something, because you want to create something more for yourself, that you feel like you have that potential and you're not stepping fully into it. You feel that gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And so what we're talking about today is how to create lasting change. I'm not interested in short-term fixes. We've all experienced the short-term fixes. Those are the plan that we can outline perfectly and then not follow through. It's the strategy or the information gathering where we can know the fat grams, the calorie content, and the sugar content of the 10 cookies we can't believe we just ate. Right? It's not about just simply having a strategy or the information and relying on that to be enough. There has to be something more to the equation, or else Google would have all the answers, right? We have gone to Google. I've gone to Google. I've gone to ChatGPT and said, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And guess what? We don't. Right? There has to be something more to this equation in creating clarity, momentum, and aligned action. So, what I specialize in is helping people create the impossible and to create something that they have never created before, whether that is raising their prices in their business or having a healthy relationship with food and not feeling like they're reverting to emotional eating. Either one, you're creating something that has never been created before. And so what we have to do in order to create something that we have never created before, we have to become something that we've never been before. And how do we do that? How do we become something different? Like that just feels so out of reach. I'll give you the ways that you can change who you are, the becoming process. We have to think greater than our own mind. We have to intentionally choose to feel greater than our current emotional state. And we have to believe greater than our current circumstances. In essence, we have to become an energetic match for what we want to create. If I want to create more peace and freedom, I can't around food, I can't begin from a place of fear, inadequacy, and lack and expect to end up at peace and freedom. What we feed is what grows. So if I'm feeding the seed of fear and lack and insecurity and inadequacy around food, I'm not going to get to the end destination or grow peace, freedom, and contentment with food in my body. So there we have to create, we have to become what we want to create before the evidence is there. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to do that. All right. So the very first step is to learn to listen to the truth of who you are. Now, this is very different. If I am just relying on my own capabilities to create something new in my life, All I have to rely on is the evidence of all the places that I haven't shown up in that way. What I have to create is a vision of who I am being as the person who already has that. And one of the best ways that I have found to do that is to drop into the truth of who we are. I call it your first voice. That first voice is found when you drop out of the noise in your head and drop into your heart. It's the place where God can show you the truth of who you are. It's where you can generate with your mind and your imagination something, a vision of yourself that feels greater than what your current mind and fears can imagine. This place of dropping into your heart is the place where possibility exists. It's where there's not the fear of doubt and inadequacy and confusion. You just get to land in the truth. I've done this with hundreds of my clients. It's a place I begin in every coaching container that I provide. We start with getting very clear on what you want, getting that clarity so that you can not just step into it from a place of knowing in your mind, but actually feeling what it feels like to be that version of you. That becoming is you stepping into that future version of yourself and knowing what it feels like to be in her body, what the thoughts that she's thinking, the feelings that she's feeling, the experience that she's having in this future state. That's a powerful way to step into the clarity of what you want, not just a goal, not just a written out, this is what I would like to create, but actually feeling into what it feels like to become her. So I'm interested in creating lasting transformation for my clients. I do this by following a very simple process called Awake, Aware, Align. Awake to the truth of who you are, become aware of what's stopping you, and then get into aligned action. This is how my clients have created amazing results. They've created what they felt was the impossible. I've had clients who have finished books that they've been working 2 decades to finish. I've had clients who have increased the number of clients that they serve. They've increased their income while at the same time decreasing the number of hours that they've worked. Never did they think that that was possible. I've worked with clients who have rearranged and transformed their relationship with food because all of a sudden it's not about a strategy or a diet plan that they're following. They're actually tuning into their own internal wisdom, understanding what their body needs, and becoming the person who loves themselves enough to take care of themselves. So for this process, the first step in becoming this energetic match for what you want is getting clarity. You can only hit a target that you can see. So one thing, what the problem is that we are very accustomed to seeing things through the lens of everything that we're not. We're very, very accustomed. Our brain's default mechanism is to go back to all the ways we're not creating what we want, the ways we're not showing up for ourselves. So the very first way that we can start to begin to see ourselves differently or to create clarity around what we want is to get really clear on what it is that it would look like and feel like to become something different. This is what I help my clients create in their top of the mountain statement. This is who they are being as at the place that they want to end up. For a lot of my clients, what this sets them on is a really powerful trajectory towards what they want. In fact, many of my clients, after the very first session where we create this vision of what they want and they're able to step into and create this statement that really clarifies this belief in their body of who they're becoming. When we get really clear on that picture and who it is that they are becoming, it's the possibilities start to open up. I've had clients who have made significant changes in the very first week of working with me, because not because we've created a plan for them, but because their belief in their ability to become something different has increased. We've turned up the volume on that first voice, the truth of who they are. They see themselves differently. And because of that, they show up differently. I had one client who had struggled with emotional eating for decades. And within the first week, she started to make shifts and changes that she did not even think were possible, not because we created a plan for her to do that, but because she shifted the way that she saw herself. She made changes in her life because the way that she saw herself changed. The belief in what she was possible for her to become increased by 1%. And that 1% was enough for her to show up differently in her life. That is why aligned action is so much more powerful than strategy. You can have all the strategy in the world, and in fact, you probably have experienced that in your life, where you've experienced creating a plan or having a desire or having an idea and not following through with it. And you also know that feeling of being in alignment, when it feels like ideas are flowing, when it feels like the impossible is possible. You may have just had moments of those, maybe just little glimpses, but that is the truth of who you are at your core. We just have to remember that. It's about remembering the truth of who you are more than it is about creating yourself in a new way. That feels impossible. That feels hard. But remembering who I truly am, that's doable. And that's what we get to do as we create that clarity. We awaken to the truth of who you are. So now, once you have the idea that the belief has increased, or you become aware of the truth of who you are, you wake that part up of you, you wake that part up, I guess it would be of you. That didn't sound right when it came out. But when you awake to the truth of who you are, what happens, and you've experienced this, I'm sure, is you start to move into action saying, yes, like, let's get going on this plan to create a new program in my business, or to take action on this new plan that I have for myself in taking care of my body, right? And we get moving, and then what happens? The second voice drops in, and that second voice is all the noise. It's all the doubt, the confusion, the inadequacy, all the evidence of why it's not working. It's never going to work. I'll never have what so-and-so has. I have all this proof that it hasn't worked in the past. So why do I have any hope of it working in the future? We have all of these, what I call invisible brick walls. They're the ways that we start to run into resistance. There are blind spots. They're the things that we're not even aware of. These invisible brick walls are invisible. That's what makes them so challenging to go around. We can't go around something that we can't see. So in the process of understanding the direction that we want to go, understanding your blind spots and your invisible brick walls is really powerful, because when you can understand what you're running into, then you can create a plan to go around it, under it, or over it. That's where we get to do the work. That's where I sit down and we look for those blind spots. I am a blind spot detective. That is what I'm on the lookout for. The things that you can't see, because if you could see them, you would have already made the change. Your desire is to become something different. So the very best thinking, your very best thinking has gotten you to the place that you are today. What you need to do is think greater than your own mind in order to create something new. That's where understanding your blind spots and your invisible brick walls is so critical, because those are the places that the subconscious thoughts, or what I call your patterns of protection, the way that you've learned to protect and keep yourself safe, are actually keeping you small. They're keeping you from creating what you want. So when we can recognize and look at those patterns of protection, those invisible brick walls, and those blind spots, when we bring those into awareness, then you can create a plan or a strategy for moving through those, but only with awareness. Because if you create a strategy to move forward, without addressing the invisible brick walls, it feels like willpower. It feels like I just have to force my way through it, because that's exactly what you're trying to do. You're trying to push your way through an invisible brick wall. When I see the invisible brick wall, then my strategy becomes, all right, I see that invisible brick wall. I need to go around it, and this is how I'm going to do it. That's the power of understanding your invisible brick walls. I'll give you an example of what this looks like. So one of my clients, one of her subconscious beliefs, invisible brick wall, blind spot, however you want to call it, was that I am only okay when I am perfect. So how this showed up was both in food and her body and in her coaching business. So she was diligent, trying so hard to be perfect in everything that she ate. It was ruling her life. It was taking over so much headspace about what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, that there really wasn't a whole lot of room for creativity. So when we started to understand that and break that down, she was able to let go of some of that perfectionism, which allowed more creativity and possibility for her business. Now, that perfectionistic quality also showed up in her business. So when she was working on a project for a client, she was spending hours and hours and hours trying to make it perfect in order for it to be worthy. I am not okay unless I am perfect. So guess what? Hours and hours and hours of time spent making something perfect that could never quite meet that standard, because it's an impossible standard. But when she was able to recognize, oh, the way that I'm doing food is the way that I'm doing my business, she was able to deconstruct that perfectionism and create a strategy that allowed herself to tap into the truth of who she is. I am worthy, messy and all. I get to be messy and I get to be okay. I give myself permission to love all parts of me. And from that place, she actually doubled her income and cut the number of hours that she worked in half. That's the power of aligned action. It's action that feels like it's easy, it's in flow. It's the difference between sitting down at your computer and trying to force yourself to create something versus sitting down and in 15 minutes feeling ideas flow through you and you create something that took a quarter of the time and is much more aligned than if you had just sat down and tried to force something out. Aligned action feels like flow. Strategy can feel like force. That's the difference. So now, the final step is aligned actions. We talked a little bit about that, but what is an aligned action? Aligned action is that flow. It also can feel very, it can feel like you're constantly trying to not fail. When you're not in aligned action, it feels like you're just trying to solve for all the problems all the time. When you are in aligned action, you can sit down and trust that what's coming through is actually in your best interest and those that you serve. So aligned action looks like showing up to your day, trusting that the choices that you're making in your food choices are the things that your body needs. Trusting your body, trusting yourself, trusting your intuition, trusting God, trusting yourself to be guided, and knowing that all is working for your good. Aligned action in your business feels like, I know who I'm meant to serve. Ideas flow through me. It's like you look at the day as a blank canvas that's just waiting for creation and possibility to flow through. It feels like flow. It feels like ease. It feels connected. Aligned action just feels like you can step into your boat on the river and the current takes you down. Now you might find some places, some obstacles along the way that you need to put your oars in and row through, but it's very different than trying to put your oars in and row upstream. That's the difference between willpower and aligned action, strategy and aligned action. There's aligned strategy, and then there is a strategy that just feels like I should, or I have to, or something that feels like this is something I need to create. So I'm going to give you 7 steps to becoming an energetic match for what you want. The first is clarity. Define what you truly want, not what you should want. Embodiment. Feel into the version of yourself who already has what you experienced. Regulation. Ground your nervous system so you can hold the energy of what you want. The only thing that pulls you out of the energy of what you want is your nervous system feeling like, change. This is too big, too much. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to stop. I'm going to get in my own way. So nervous system regulation is a really powerful way to stay in the energy of alignment. Number 4, belief work. This is where you're releasing the limiting stories and the doubts and the fears. You're bringing those invisible brick walls into awareness and you're working through them. You're using them on your journey instead of being stopped by them. And then finally, aligned action. You're taking steps that feel expansive instead of draining. So one of the things that I have been contemplating in the last several weeks is how to show up in the greatest service to all of you. And I don't, most of the work that I do is deep, long-term coaching, 6 months to 3 years. Most of my clients are repeat clients. They love the work that we do together and they stay for a long time. Not because they aren't getting results, but because they are, and they want to continue the progress that they see. So I wanted to provide a shorter term transformational experience for you to have this process of walking through my Awake, Aware, Align process. So I've opened it up for a limited time. I have 5 spots that are available at a deeply discounted rate. You can sign up with me through just by messaging me and letting me know that you want one of those 5 spots. But we will begin the first session with awakening to the truth of who you are. I'll walk you through my signature process that is so powerful in creating that belief and waking up to the truth of who you are. From there, you'll create what I call your top of the mountain statement. This is a powerful, beautiful statement that you can use on a daily basis to remind yourself and to embody this energy of what you want to create. It's a powerful tool, one of the most powerful ways that my clients have created more of what they want. In fact, I've had clients that have emailed me years later and said, I just realized I am living the entire vision that I saw for myself. My top of the mountain statement, I am living it right now. And it feels so amazing. So that's session one. Session two is becoming aware of what's stopping you. It's getting to know those invisible brick walls. It's bringing them into awareness so that you can go around them, under them, over them, whatever you need. But you have to understand what's stopping you. Otherwise, you're going to keep running into it. So that's where we identify your blind spots, your invisible brick walls. We do that together in a really powerful process, and we restructure those blind spots so that they no longer need to be there. And that's a really powerful process that I'll walk you through. It's a belief restructuring process. Finally, in your third session, we are going to get into that aligned action, creating action steps that feel like they are coming from your soul. Instead of SMART goals, we create soul goals. And soul goals are goals that come from a place of stillness, a place of clarity, a place of alignment. And that's where you move into aligned action. That's the action that feels like flow, ease. It feels like I want to be here. I get to create this versus I have to create this. So awake, aware, aligned is the three-part process. Those are the three sessions that I'll walk you through. It's at a deeply discounted rate for $600 for the three sessions. I suggest doing the three sessions in 1 month. That's where I've seen the most power and momentum created. And I have the spot. Actually, I had 5 spots. I am down to 4, possibly 3 tomorrow. So at the time of this recording, I have about 4 spots left. And if you want one of those spots, please feel free to email me. Let me know you're interested, and we'll set up a time to start your first session. I'm happy to work through what you want to create, becoming the version of you who creates what you want. The becoming is the most important piece. That's where you create the results. That's where you create things that you've never created before in your life. I see it all the time with my clients. It's the greatest joy that I have in the work that I do is helping my clients see the most powerful version of themselves and show up as that version, dropping away all the walls that are getting in the way. So we're going to take this into an embodiment exercise in the next episode so that you can become an energetic match for what you want. This will be a powerful meditation that you can use on a daily basis to step into the energy of becoming someone different who creates something different. That is what we're up to here, is remembering the truth of who you are and acting from that place. That's what we're going to tap into in the next episode. So I hope you'll join me there. Until then, look me up, share this podcast if it resonated with you, or if you feel a little niggle on your heart, if you felt somebody's name come to mind, please share. Share the meditation, share what insights stood out to you. And as always, I love to hear from you. So let me know what stood out to you. And until next time, we'll see you then.